I think hair is a very underestimated part of character design, so it's not something you should overlook when designing characters or drawing people in general. There's so much variety in the ways it can be styled, and each one can completely transform how a person looks. A big thing to consider is what your level of realism allows you to get away with. In a grounded, realistic art style, the way you shape and style hair of course needs to follow a standard of believability, something you could see in real life. But when the art style is more stylized, believability doesn't matter as much. It can be spikier, rounder, or otherwise defy the natural pull of gravity. You can transform an existing hairstyle or invent something unique. Here are some examples of really unique, inventive character hairstyles that I really enjoy. They take advantage of what stylization allows you to get away with in order to make the hair into a really fun, defining element. Because of this flexibility, the shape of the hair can be extremely important for making an interesting and iconic silhouette. All good character designs have a silhouette that's clear and recognizable. For this to be the case, the shape of the hair should complement rather than take away from the shape of the rest of the character. If, say, your character has a pauldron that you think is an iconic, important part of the character, then it would be best to make sure that the hair doesn't cover that part up in the silhouette, or compete with it by being too similar of a sized shape. On the other hand, if you want the hair to be an important, iconic part of a design, then you can make it more big and bold, and then avoid putting any significant details occupying the same space so that there isn't any competition or important details lost in the silhouette. In order for the hair shape you choose to work well with the stuff around it, instead of the hair mimicking the shape of the body or wherever it connects to and overlaps, it will ideally go against it in some way. If the body curves inward, the hair could curve outward, and vice versa. Here's a weak example. The shape of the hair leads into the arms, resulting in this awkwardness where the two shapes are almost acting like one instead of clear individual parts. To fix this, you could bring the hair in so that it doesn't connect so closely to the arms, or bring it out, and potentially change the shape as well so that the outer curve is different. In addition to deciding on hair that has an appealing shape, it's fun to try showing things like a character's personality in their hairstyle. Neatness or messiness can allude to things like mental state, status, or just the level of care a person has for their appearance. Practicality is another thing you might think about. Consider how much time they would spend on styling. For some kind of performer, this might be a lot, but for someone else, not as much. How it would be best worn to not interfere with their daily life is another thing to think about. I believe flair is also important though, and practicality isn't always the most important thing for fictional people, so there's definitely a balance to be found between what's logical and what just looks cool. Long, loose hair, for example, might not be a very practical choice for any kind of athlete or fighter, but it does look awesome in motion and action poses. Some other style choices include how you draw the ends, typically made up of either jagged points, or flat, with maybe some triangle shapes cut out of it. A combination of these works as well. The ends also don't have to be all at the same length. Layered hairstyles have sections of varying length, which creates this fluffier look. I've already made one video about hair before, but I still want to talk a bit more about technique. Even for longer hair, the hairline is important to think about. It's a good idea to mark that in, even if it's temporary and going to be mostly or entirely covered up. That way, you avoid accidentally showing skin where the hair would be growing from. No matter what hairstyle you're drawing, it's best to avoid any parallel lines. When the hair is pulled by something, like a hair tie or clip, then the lines will be pinched towards that point. On loose, down hair, the pinching can go both up and down in different areas, somewhat randomly. For wavy and curly hair, the converging and overlapping of the lines will be more dramatic. Straight hair should typically have converging lines as well, just much more subtle. Compared to this same drawing with more parallel lines, you can see that this tiny difference makes things look much more natural and not too rigid. Taking this further, always be sure to space the lines randomly, with some close together and others with larger gaps between them. You also don't have to draw every line going all the way from the root to the end of the hair. Some shorter lines mixed in can add nice variety. Some hairstyles, especially ones involving braids, can be pretty complex for 2D animation, or any situation where it needs to be drawn multiple times. For your purposes or sanity, it may be better to simplify. There are quite a few ways to draw braids without needing to show every individual section and how they cross each other. Heart or diamond shapes are popular shortcuts, and these can mostly just be outlines with little or no inner detail if need be. I found there's a lack of good resources out there in terms of being able to browse and view hairstyles without already knowing what you're searching for, so I made my own, a PDF showing 112 labeled hairstyles, each with a front, back, and side view. It's for sale on my Patreon page for $5, so if you design characters and would like to be able to easily browse a variety of hairstyles, see how they look at different angles, and know the names of them so that you can easily look up more reference images if you need, then check it out with the link in the description. I really appreciate it, and I hope you find it as helpful as I have. Thank you members on the Patreon for your support, and thanks for watching.